Hello, let us continue our reading of the Prologue by Bradstreet. In my previous lectures, I have completed the first 6 stanzas from this particular poem, and now it is the last part that I will discuss here in this particular lecture. In the last section of this poem, that is stanza number 6, we have found that there was a kind of a differentiation is being made between the orientations to poetry as referred by the Greeks and that the way the females have been treated in the typical English structures. She continues in this passion that there is a kind of a big difference between the Greeks' way of thinking, who actually devoted poetry to or given poetry under the surveillance or under the protection of the 9 muses, who were actually females. Now, the orientation has been changed. She says, let Greeks be Greeks, and women what they are. Men have precedency and still excel. So here you will find that the particular kind of a debate of attributing this particular text to 2 different orientations now will be changed, certainly. In the first section of this particular poem, we have found that the poem was being vested, poem has been indicated in terms of humility and self-depreciation, as I've mentioned repeatedly throughout these lectures. Towards the end part of this particular poem, we have found that the orientation shifted towards a feminist agenda, the way females have been treated, the way females have been oriented or represented rather in this particular conditional orientation to patriarchy. She writes therefore that let Greeks be Greeks and women what they are. Men have precedency. That is the indication what I have mentioned in the introductory part of this particular lecture or of this particular reading of the text. That is actually being indicated in terms of, that is being posited and written by the persons like Virginia Woolf, where I have mentioned reference to Judith Shakespeare. But men have precedency, men have the power, men have the authority, and they have excelled in each and every field. Women have been subjugated, and that particular form of excelling and precedency is still continuing. That is being indicated by Bradstreet in the 17th century, and in the present scenario after say 300 years or 400 years. Today also we can find the same is being oriented. The situations got changed, the conditions got changed, the intensity of exploitation got changed, but we cannot say it has been completely being obliterated. It is continuing, or it is also continuing within this society, as we all know, but in a different terms. So men have precedency and still excel. It is but vain unjustly to wage war. Ultimately, by waging war, you cannot excel in this form. You cannot directly confront. You cannot directly fight. Okay? Men can do best, and women know it well. So again, the question comes, is it a kind of an ironic orientation that she is indicating? Or rather, she is accepting that men can do best, women know it all, or women know it well. Do you not find here is an ironic shaft that Anne Bradstreet is indicating? How can it be possible that men can be best? You cannot mark a static orientation to any particular gender. She is also using the word based in terms of ironic orientation. There lies the irony. Obviously, certainly there is. So men can do best and women knows it well. Preeminence in all, and each is yours because you are the God. You are the master. So therefore, preeminence in all and each is yours. Yet, please grant some small acknowledgement of ours. You have the power, you have the authority, you have the presidency, You have the excelling forms. Everything is being vested on you. But please give some small acknowledgement of ours. Everything lies at your feet. And it is your choice to give acknowledgement to others or not. So do you not think that there is a kind of an passive, or rather it's not overt, rather inert form of protest is being indicated in an ironic way in this particular poem. This continues towards the last section of this poem. And oh, you high-flown wheels, or your high-flown quills that soar the skies, quills, the quills are the instrument, the feathers with which they actually wrote. And these are considered as high-flown quills. So high-flown by what? Is it indicating towards the patriarchal powers? Is it indicating to gender and power? You see, the typical Foucauldian structure. Is it indicating towards the society, the patriarchy, everything that is providing the impetus to them? And that is the sole reason why they are soaring the skies. They have reached the optimum level. And ever with your prey, still catch your praise. Prey and praise, these are very symbolically used. If ever you deign these lowly lines your eyes. So here you will find the deign means go beneath dignity. So I don't want to lose your dignity. Bradstreet says that if ever you go beneath your dignity, okay, these lowly lines your eyes, give dime or pursely wreath. That means I don't want any laurel, say, crown. I don't want that. Just like bays, you see, the term, laurel crown. So give dime, that means give them, or dime or parsley wreath. Parsley wreath is a kind of a, you see, crown. Wreath means crown that is constructed out of parsley. Parsley is a kind of a lower graded plant. That means you needn't have to give them bays. You needn't have to give them, that is the females, the laurel crowns rather. Rather, give them at least some parsley wreath. That will do. That means a small acknowledgement that is being indicated. So if ever you deign these lowly lines your eyes, the lowly rhymes or lines that the females are actually writing, give dime or parsley wreath. Either dime or parsley wreath you can give. I ask no ways. This mean and unrefined ore, a very significant line and symbolic orientation is there. The last two lines are very significant. She writes, this mean and unrefined ore of mine will make your glistening gold but more to shine. So that means she is deliberately creating a kind of a comparison. The comparison between the writings by the males and the writing by the females like Bradstreet herself. And she is doing that on the basis of, unrefined ore, okay, from where the gold is being accumulated, and also the glistering gold that is being found in the market. So now the indication is from the ore the gold is being accumulated or acquired. But you cannot say that gold is more valuable than the ore. Why? Because gold is glistering just because of its polish, and ore, it had the capabilities, but it do not have such kind of polishing or grooming rather. You will find that the ore has much potentiality than the glistening gold that is found to be present in the society. So somehow the indication is being oriented in terms of the capability that is present within the female figures, female writers like Anne Bradstreet. But it is the society that is protecting or rather controlling them not to be polished and published in the common face or public face. So that's why she writes at the end that if you give us small kind of acknowledgement, then beside the darkness like us, the light will be more dazzling. The light is being indicated in terms of the patriarchy and obviously the male figures, male writers, and the darkness is being associated in terms of the females. So at one point she writes that if we have been also being acknowledged by the society that have been led by patriarchy, then ultimately beside us your writing will get more prominence. Why? Because our writing is of lower quality and your writing is of higher quality. Okay, so ultimately if it is being placed beside us, then your quality will be shown greater than us. Okay, and it becomes with more dazzle. But with the particular term unrefined ore, the indication, the orientation, everything is being hinted, as I have discussed just now. So when after the end of this particular poem, I should tell you to prepare some questions relating to these two orientations, whether this particular poem can be classified as a poem of humility or rather a kind of self-depreciation, or from another particular angle we can continue, we can say that whether you can identify some feminist discourse, some the particular form of, say, subjugation, exploitation, the way the females have been treated by patriarchy during the time as it has been represented in this particular poem. All these questions can refer to these have to be answered in response to or in referring to reference to this particular poem, that is the Prologue by Anne Bradstreet. Another thing that is significantly being important here is the title of this particular poem. Now the question is why the name or the title of this poem is considered as Prologue. You will find that as I've mentioned just now, that this particular poem was published under the title or published in the 10th Muse. Okay, the 10th Muse in America that have been mentioned just now. But ultimately, you will find that somehow she is referring herself to be the 10th Muse, right? Who have the capability but who had not been mentioned anywhere. So do you not think that ultimately what she is trying to propose, what she is trying to propagate, what she is trying to show in the form of her future poems, these have been indicated in this particular title of this poem, or in this particular poem, that is the prologue to her thoughts, prologue to her temperament, prologue to her, say, knowledge, and also the thoughts that she is inculcating or nourishing within her. That is acknowledgement, that is exploitation, that is how I can be acknowledged by the society in future. So these are the matters that she will address in the future parts, you see, in the human psyche and in other forms, you see. But ultimately, this particular poem, the Prologue, is actually indicating or inaugurating her voice against such kind of subjugation, such kind of exploitations in future. Okay, so thank you for being with us, and ultimately I know that the lecture will certainly help you in writing good answers and understanding this particular poem in your examination. So today up to this, thank you, then stay attached.